I want you to close your eyes for just a second and try to picture the most peaceful scene imaginable in your house.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You are standing in your living room, right? And there is this beautifully lit glass box. Inside, you've got these green plants swaying gently in the current. The water is just crystal clear, and colorful, shimmering fish are gliding through the light.
Yeah, that's the classic setup.
It is the ultimate picture of domestic tranquility. It's totally zen.
Well, I mean, it is the reason the aquarium industry is a billion-dollar market.
Yeah.
People want a slice of nature's calm in their, chaotic homes.
Exactly.
It literally lowers your blood pressure just looking at it.
It does. But today, we are going to completely shatter that illusion for you.
Oh, totally. We are ruining aquariums today.
We really are, because if you look closer, and I mean really press your nose right up against the glass, that tank is actually the setting for a high-stakes, brutal survival drama.
It really is.
We are talking about disappearing babies, cold-blooded calculus, and a very, very dark side of parental instincts.
It's basically a microcosm of the harshest parts of the Amazon, just sitting right there next to your sofa.
Right.
Because it's a closed ecosystem. And in closed ecosystems, things get efficient very quickly.
And to guide us through this underwater thriller for today's deep dive, we aren't looking at some slick National Geographic documentary.
No, we have something much better.
We do. We are looking at a blog post. But not just any blog post. This is from a site called qianmeng.org.
Right. Written by a gentleman named Ang.
Yes, and he describes himself as an old software plumber.
Which is just a fantastic title.
Isn't it?
It really is. And frankly, it gives us a huge clue as to how he approaches this whole scenario. He's not, a sentimental pet owner who names every single fish.
Right, he's not naming the guppies.
Exactly. He's a systems engineer. He looks at the tank as a series of inputs and outputs.
That is exactly the vibe I got from reading this. So the specific entry we are analyzing is titled Notes on Fishkeeping, Part 202. I know, Part 202, and the subtitle is, Will Guppies Eat Their Own Young? It was published on February 23, 2026.
Yeah, that Part 202, that number just jumps right out at you.
I saw that and immediately thought, I don't think I've done 202 of anything in my entire life.
Let alone write detailed notes about it.
Exactly.
But it implies a massive data set. I mean, this isn't just a casual observation from someone who bought a goldfish bowl yesterday.
No, not at all.
This is long-term pattern recognition. And that context is really vital because the question he's asking, will guppies eat their own young? It seems like a simple yes or no, but the answer opens up this totally fascinating discussion about evolutionary biology and environmental design.
So let's just jump right into the mystery here.
Let's do it.
The setup is simple enough. Ang introduces a guppy pair to his tank. Biology happens. They spawn a new batch of fry.
Which, for those of you who don't speak fish, fry are the baby fish.
Right, the newborns.
Yeah.
Tiny, vulnerable, and apparently very nutritious.
Extremely nutritious.
We will get to the nutrition part in a second, which is frankly a little horrifying. But here's the data point that actually kicks off the mystery.
The silence.
Yes, silence. For a full week, Ang is doing his daily rounds, feeding the tank, checking the parameters, and he sees the parents.
Right, they are out and about.
He specifically mentions seeing the female hanging out at the usual feeding ring. But the babies, zero. Not a single one in sight.
Which is alarming if you were tracking a system. Because in a closed system like a glass aquarium, matter doesn't just magically vanish.
Right, they can't swim downstream.
Exactly. If the fry are gone, they're either dead and decomposing into the gravel, or they've been consumed.
Or, and this is the twist, they're just very, very good at hiding.
That is the third option, yes.
And that's the aha moment in the source material. After a week of this ghost town scenario where he basically assumes the whole generation is lost, Ang finally spots them.
They were there all along.
They weren't gone. They were entrenched. Specifically, he notes they were on the other side of the Water Pennywort within its root system.
And that specific detail, the Water Pennywort, is the absolute linchpin of this entire survival story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's not just a decorative plant. It's a bunker.
Before we get into the actual physical mechanics of that plant, I want to ask you about the instinct here.
Sure.
Because these are newborn creatures. They have been alive for maybe a few days, and yet their very first impulse isn't, oh, I should go to mom for food and protection.
No, it's hide from mom or die.
Right. That is so wild to me.
It completely upends our mammalian bias. We tend to look at nature through a human lens where parents are protectors, nurturers.
Yeah, you take care of your kids.
But in the aquatic world, Especially with live bearers like guppies,
Yeah.
size is basically the only metric that matters. If you are small enough to fit in the mouth, you are food,
Even to your own parents.
especially to your parents, because they are right there when you were born.
That is just a terrifying existence. Imagine being born and immediately having to play a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek for your life against the very individuals who just made you.
It sounds cruel, but it's efficient. The fry have this genetic hardwiring that screams at them to seek cover immediately.
Because the ones that didn't...
Exactly. The ones that swam up to say hello to mom, they became lunch, they didn't pass on their friendly genes, the paranoid ones survived.
Wow. Okay, so Aang asks the core question explicitly in his notes. He writes, do female guppies eat their own fry, which causes the fry to hide themselves? And his answer is incredibly blunt.
He does not mince words at all.
No, he just says yes. He notes this is especially true for live bearers, but then he uses a phrase that I think is just going to stick with me for a long time.
I know exactly which phrase you mean.
He says the parents view the newborns as a, quote, convenient snack.
Convenient snack. It's brutal, but it's scientifically spot on.
But why? I mean, biologically speaking, why would a species evolve to eat its own offspring? That seems entirely counterproductive to the whole goal of survival of the species, doesn't it? If you eat your kids, you have no legacy.
It does seem counterintuitive at first glance, but you have to look at the energy economics of it all.
Energy economics.
Right. Producing young takes a massive, massive toll on the mother's body. It completely drains her reserves.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
if resources are scarce, like if she is starving in the wild, those fry represent a very fast way to reclaim that energy.
Oh, wow.
She reclaims the calories so she can survive and reproduce again later when conditions might be better. It's a grim form of biological recycling.
The literal calculation, I can survive to breed another day, but only if I eat these kids right now.
Precisely. It's a triage decision made by pure biology. It's not malice, it's just math. And Aang actually points out the specific trigger for this in his post.
Right, he notes that the behavior is, quote, triggered or made worse when food is scarce. Okay, so we have the core problem defined. The parents are potential cannibals and the kids are convenient snacks. Now, let's look at the solutions, because this is where that software plumber mindset really starts to shine.
This is easily the best part of the source material for me.
I think most people, if they found out their pets were actively trying to eat each other, would probably just separate them, right? Like, put the babies in a little plastic box. I see those at the pet store all the time.
Oh yeah, that's the standard industry practice. It's called a breeder box or a nursery tank. You physically remove the predator from the prey.
Right.
It's a method of total intervention. You are essentially putting the parents in jail or putting the kids in a panic room.
But Aang doesn't do that at all. He explicitly says in his notes that he prefers to let nature take its course.
Which, on the surface, might sound a bit passive.
Yeah, it sounds like he's just standing back with a clipboard watching the carnage unfold.
Right, like, good luck, little guys. But if you read the post closely, he isn't being passive in the slightest. He's actually engaging in what I would call environmental engineering.
Environmental engineering. I like that.
He's not fixing the fish, he's patching the system.
Ah, because he's a software plumber.
Exactly. He understands that you cannot change the base source code of a duppy. It is programmed to eat things that fit in its mouth. So instead of trying to change the code, he changes the user interface. He changes the environment.
Let's break down his patch notes then. It seems to have two main components based on his writing. First, there's the hardware defense, the Water Pennywort.
Hydrocotyleucocephala, a real classic in the hobby.
Why this specific plant, though? He calls out the root system, specifically in the text. Why not just, any leafy bush in the tank?
This is a crucial distinction. In an aquarium, you have these different vertical zones.
Yeah.
You have the substrate at the very bottom. You have the open water column in the middle, and then the surface. Water Pennywort is often grown as a floating plant, or it roots in the bottom and grows all the way up to the surface. And its roots hang down like this incredibly dense, tangled curtain.
Like a net?
Sort of, yeah. Think of it like a really dense thicket of brambles or a kelp forest. A large adult female guppy is bulky. She's like a submarine.
Okay.
She cannot maneuver through that thick web of fine roots without getting stuck or just expending way too much energy to make it worth the hunt.
But the fry can.
The fry are just tiny little slivers.
Yeah.
They can slip in and out of that root network effortlessly. It's a concept we call exclusion architecture.
Exclusion architecture. That is a great term.
Yes. The structure of the plant itself creates a safe zone. purely based on physical dimensions. The parents are quite literally physically barred from entry.
So the fry are just sitting inside the roots, basically inside a botanical fortress that the parents can stare at that can't breach.
Exactly. And notice Eng's observation from earlier. He didn't see the fry for a whole week. That proves the efficacy of the architecture. They stayed in the bunker until they felt they were large enough or bold enough to venture out into the open water.
That perfectly covers the physical defense. But then he outlines a second part of his strategy, which feels a lot more like behavioral modification. He talks about his feeding frequency.
Yes, the saturation strategy.
Let me quote him directly. He writes, "Since we've been feeding the fish almost every day, the food supply should be sufficient to keep everyone safe."
This goes right back to that biological energy calculation we talked about earlier.
The triage thing.
Exactly. The convenient snack instinct is primarily triggered by hunger and resource scarcity. By ensuring a steady, almost daily supply of commercial food, which is high protein, super easy to catch, he is actively lowering the hunting drive of the parents.
So basically, a well-fed predator is a lazy predator.
In a lot of cases, yes.
Yeah.
Why would you spend your precious energy chasing a fast-moving paranoid fry through a complex root system when a delicious flake of food just floats right in front of your face every morning?
You wouldn't.
Right. He is manipulating the variables of the tank to lower the probability of cannibalism.
It's pure risk mitigation. He accepts that the risk is never going to be zero. He acknowledges right there that the nature of the guppy is to eat the young, but he reduces the likelihood to an acceptable level.
And that is a very classic software engineer way to look at a complex problem. You can't always eliminate a bug in the code, but you can build error handling around it so it doesn't crash the entire system.
I really want to pivot to that, actually, the software plumber persona itself, because I think that is what makes the source so uniquely rich. It's not just a post about fish. It's about a specific way of seeing the world.
Oh, absolutely. When you look at the sidebar of qianmang.org, you aren't just seeing a casual hobbyist. You're looking at the archives of a compulsive documenter.
The numbers are frankly staggering. We mentioned this was Notes on Fishkeeping Part 202, but if you look at the other categories on his site, Notes on Gardening is at Part 816.
816.
Yeah.
That represents years, possibly decades, of consistent daily data entry. That is a massive longitudinal study of his own backyard.
And the topics are so eclectic. I saw Notes on Haskell Programming, Part 65. There are notes on Python, notes on AI, notes on dieting, guitar.
Right. This is a person who clearly learns by debugging reality.
Debugging reality.
Yeah, whether it's a line of code that won't compile, or a plant that keeps dying in his garden, or a fish tank with mysteriously missing fry, he applies the exact same loop to all of it. Observe, hypothesize, tinker, document.
I really love that concept. Because when the fry went missing, his first instinct wasn't to panic. He didn't rush to the pet store in a frenzy to buy a plastic tank divider. He just waited. He watched the system.
It's all about observability. In software engineering, if a system crashes or acts weird, you don't just start smashing buttons, you check the logs.
Right.
Eng treats his life like a system that generates logs. Day 1, no fry visible. Day 7, fry spotted entrenched in roots. That kind of patience, that willingness to just let this system run its course to see what actually happens, is incredibly rare.
It is. Most of us are such interventionists by nature. We see a problem, and we want to fix it immediately. We want to control the outcome. We see the tiny baby fish in danger. We panic, and we net them out to save them.
Right. We want to be the hero of the story. We want to be the savior of the baby fish. But Eng's approach is much more subtle. He doesn't want to be the hero. He wants to be the architect who builds a tank where the fish can save themselves.
That's a really profound distinction, intervention versus architecture.
And it requires a tremendous amount of trust in the system you've built.
Yeah.
You know, looking at some of his gardening notes, he has topics like the irony of the purple or rediscovering mealybugs. He treats pusts and failures as just another data point.
Interesting.
Mealybug infestation isn't a disaster to him. It's just a new variable to manage in the system.
It actually reminds me a lot of the open source software philosophy, and I notice he specifically mentions floss-free, Libre, and open source software in his bio.
The connection there is undeniable. In open source development, you build systems that are entirely transparent. You release your code into the wild, and you see how it interacts with other systems and users.
Right, you don't control every aspect.
Exactly. You don't try to lock everything down in a rigid walled garden. You build a robust environment and let the users, or in this specific case, the fish, figure it out within the parameters you set.
So if we take a step back and look at the big picture here, We have a guy who has spent over a decade writing thousands of meticulous notes. He's watching this literal life and death domestic drama unfold right in his living room. He sees the absolute brutality of nature, the convenient snack reality, but he doesn't judge the fish for it.
No, there's absolutely no judgment in his writing, just pure observation. The fish aren't morally bad for eating their young. They are just executing their biological program.
Right. He respects the adult guppy for what it is, a hungry, opportunistic survivor. And he respects the fry for what they are, highly instinctive hiders.
And he facilitates both of those programs. He feeds the parents daily so they don't absolutely have to eat the kids to survive. And he provides the dense root system so the kids can hide if the parents do get peckish. It's a beautifully balanced ecosystem.
It makes me wonder about the survival of the fittest aspect of his method, though. By not stepping in and saving every single fry, is he actually making his tank stronger over time?
Oh, without a doubt. Think about it. If you use a breeder box and you save every single baby, you are artificially preserving genetics that might be naturally slow or have poor survival instincts or even weak immune systems.
Because nothing is testing them.
Exactly. By letting them take their chances in the pennywort roots, only the quickest, the smartest, and the best hiders are going to survive to adulthood.
So he's accidentally, or who knows, maybe very intentionally breeding a strain of super guppies.
He's allowing natural selection to function completely unimpeded within the parameters he set. It's microevolution happening in a glass box. The next generation of his fish will naturally be better hiders because all the bad hiders literally became lunch.
Because convenient snacks don't pass on their DNA.
That is the harsh, undeniable truth of it.
You know, looking at the date on this post again, 2026, and realizing his archives stretch all the way back to 2011, it really emphasizes that you just cannot fully understand a complex system by looking at a single snapshot. You have to look at the trend line over time.
That's the real takeaway for me from this whole source. We live in a world of quick hot takes and instant expertise. People will read one short article and think they know everything about a subject.
Oh, constantly.
But real understanding, the kind of deep knowledge that tells you exactly why water pennywort is functionally better than a fake plastic plant that only comes from writing note number 202. It comes from the daily grind of observation.
It's tacit knowledge. You can't just memorize that from a textbook. You have to stare at the water until your eyes hurt.
And you have to be willing to fail, too. I'm absolutely sure that back in note number 50 or note number 100, things went wrong in that tank. Fish probably died, plants probably melted away, but he didn't quit. He kept documenting it. He kept debugging.
He actually has a disclaimer on his site that I found charmingly humble, considering how much data he has. He writes, "Opinions expressed here are my own. I cannot guarantee the accuracy, accept no liability."
Which is honestly the most pure form of science. Here is exactly what I saw happen. Replicate it at your own risk.
I just keep picturing him sitting at his desk, typing up some incredibly complex Haskell code, getting frustrated with a bug, and then just slowly turning his chair around to watch the fish tank, and realizing it's the exact same problem staring back at him.
It creates such a wonderful sense of continuity in how a person views the world. Whether he is dealing with a memory leak in a computer program or a fry leak in his aquarium, the mindset is identical. Problem, observation, hypothesis, solution.
And realizing that sometimes the absolute best solution is to literally do nothing. Just step back and let the roots do the work.
Strategic inaction. It's a very powerful tool.
So let's wrap this up. We started today with a missing fish mystery. We found out that guppies are merciless cannibals, plant roots are survival bunkers, and maybe the best way to run an aquarium is to think exactly like an old software engineer.
Observe. Document, patch.
What is the one big thing you want the listener to walk away with today? I mean, if they don't even own an aquarium, why does any of this matter to them?
For me, it's the broader concept of the pennywort solution.
Explain that a bit more.
Well, in our own lives, whether we are managing a team at work or raising children or just working on some collaborative creative project, we so often default to the breeder box mentality.
Right, the interventionist approach.
Exactly. We try to completely micromanage safety. We hover over everything. We intervene at the very first sign of trouble or conflict because we want to control the outcome.
The classic helicopter parent approach, or the micromanager boss who won't let you just do your job.
Right. We try to constantly remove the predators, meaning the risks, the difficulties, the friction. But Ang's notes teach us that it's very often better to focus your energy on the environment itself.
Don't force the behavior.
Yes. Don't force the behavior. Build the pennywort. Create a workplace culture or a family system or a physical space where safety and success are just the natural, emergent outcome of the design.
That is incredibly powerful. Don't fight the predators, just plant deeper roots.
And of course, feed them well so they aren't quite as hungry.
Yes, definitely keep the stakeholders well fed. That is universal advice right there. A hungry boss is a dangerous boss.
It really is true.
And for me, the big takeaway is simply the value of adopting that software plumber mindset in everyday life. Having the sheer discipline to write Note 202, to not just passively experience your life, but to actually log it and reflect on it, because you never know when a random data point from 5 years ago is going to turn into tomorrow's solution.
We could definitely all benefit from a few more log entries in our lives. We forget so much of what we actually learn day to day.
So here's a final question for you, listening to this deep dive right now. We all have fry in our lives, fragile new ideas, vulnerable new projects, maybe even actual children. So ask yourself, are you trying to save them by putting them in a sterile plastic box, totally isolating them from the real world? Or are you building an environment that is complex enough and rich enough with enough pennywort roots that they can actually learn to survive and thrive on their own?
Are you building a prison or are you building a sanctuary?
Think about that. Maybe it's time to stop hovering and start planting some pennywort. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
See you next time.